Hey everyone, Pete from London Camera Exchange, and today I'm pleased to tell you that Panasonic has announced the final spec for this, the LUMIX S5. We saw a teaser image and name a few weeks ago, and I've been lucky enough to get a few days shooting with it, giving me a chance to get a general feel for its performance and handling. Now you need to bear in mind that this is an early production model, and since receiving it I've had numerous firmware upgrades, and I fully expect there to be more between now and its release. So this S5 here with me now may not be the 100% in production unit, but right now I can certainly give you all the headline spec and features. To state the obvious, the S1 series of cameras aren't exactly the smallest or lightest mirrorless system, and Panasonic have worked really hard to resolve this. Weighing in at just 630 grams, this full-frame mirrorless camera is actually 95 grams lighter than Panasonic's Micro Four Thirds sensored camera, the GH5. With that being said, it's almost not worth comparing the S5 with the S1 series of cameras, but we've got one here, so it's always worth showing it side by side. Now, unlike its bigger brother, the S1H, we do not see any vents or fans built into the S5's magnesium alloy body. And it's also worth mentioning that it's dust and splash proof too, giving you the confidence in its rugged and robust build. Both the screen and EVF have a lower resolution than the S1 series of cameras, but that being said, the quality of the vari-angled 1.84 million dot touch LCD made framing those harder to reach shots a breeze, whether high, low or to the side. While shooting in sunnier environments, its bright and high contrast display was clearly visible, and I only switched across to the 2.3 million dot EVF for a couple of still images. Adopting that highly acclaimed 5 status seen in so many of the industry's best loved content creating cameras, the LUMIX S5 certainly boasts some impressive video features. At its heart is a 24 megapixel full frame sensor, and the headline spec is that you can capture 4K video at 60p in 10-bit 420 when shooting in the APS-C cropped mode. Stepping the frame rate down to 25p and you can capture full frame 10 or 8-bit video up to 100 megabits per second, all internally. Each of these modes are shot in the long GOP format, and while shooting in 4K 30p at 420 you get a limitless recording time. If however you're shooting internal 10-bit at 4K 60, you are limited to the usual 30 minutes while recording, where the recording will just simply stop. Panasonic mentioned this is due to their cameras having to comply with an internal operating temperature of no more than 40 degrees, so we have no worries in regard to any overheating or hot to touch cameras. Hooking the S5 up to an external recorder via the new smaller micro HDMI port allows you to shoot up to 4K 60 at 422 10-bit, giving you that extra chroma information. I was a little disappointed to see the loss of the full-size HDMI, but I guess where size and weight matter you have to accept a little sacrifice. The S5 adopts dual native ISO when shooting in the pre-installed Vlog mode, letting you perfectly match the S5 up to larger video rigs. You can also capture the same dynamic range as its bigger brother at an impressive 14 stops, which is really rather good for a hybrid system, especially when compared to any dedicated cine camera. With this being a small and compact system, makes it ideal for handheld shooting. Aiding your footage, we have a 5-axis stabilized sensor, giving you 5 stops of compensation, and when coupled with a compatible lens, you can gain up to 6.5 stops, which is brilliant for anyone on the move who wants smooth gimbal-like footage. Being that L-mount fitting, we have a whole wealth of native lenses from both Panasonic and Leica, but we should also not forget about the extensive range from Sigma too, covering some rather tasty primes and telephoto focal lengths. You can even pop on an adapter to mount other third-party lenses, and all of these can still be used handheld thanks to that in-body stabilization. For this video, I've been using the new 20-60 f3.5 to 5.6 kit lens, which is available with the S5. There are plenty of options for anamorphic lenses on the market, and we find a built-in de-squeeze function that allows you to see your image de-squeezed whilst you are recording or playing back to review your content. To help you make your footage a little bit more dramatic, you can also shoot in slow motion. Now you could simply capture in 60p and slow it down in post, but if you really want to push the S5, you can shoot in Full HD up to 180 frames per second with a super 35mm crop, or 150 frames per second with no crop. As a filmmaker's choice, you have nearly every tool you could possibly want pre-built in, and that includes a histogram overlay, focus peaking, zebra lines, frame guides, audio levels, and waveforms, just to name a few. Panasonic have even taken some of those features found inside the G100, released earlier this year, to make your shooting even easier with the monitor record frame indicator, frame markers, and vertical video mode. Focusing sees an improvement with a brand new algorithm, helping to boost the 225 contrast-based AF points that cover the sensor. The face and eye detection has now been doubled, along with a pretty solid tracking for animals, body, and head recognition. For any hybrid shooters out there, the S5 is ideal as it features that lovely 24-megapixel full-frame sensor, along with a host of other Lumix photo modes. You can enjoy many different preset and totally customizable photo styles, along with the 6K burst mode, capable of capturing 30 18-megapixel images in just 1 second. If that's not fast enough for your action, you can switch to 4K photo mode, dropping your res down to 8 megapixels, but getting a staggering 60 images in 1 second. If you like life a little slower paced and landscape and architecture is more your thing, then the high-res mode built into the S5 is definitely worth a look at. Setup in this mode allows for multiple custom options, including your preferred shutter delay, the motion blur processing, and whether you want your images to be saved in JPEG, RAW, or even both. You will need to keep the S5 stable as it relies on shooting multiple images and then stacking them together internally, but the results really speak for themselves. Something else worth mentioning is how impressed I was with the shadow recovery in my images. I've only been able to shoot in JPEG due to not having the up-to-date RAW plugin for Adobe, but you can really see how much information and data is stored even in a compressed file with this rather extreme example. Powering the S5 is a new and improved battery. The BLK22 allows you to capture up to 440 still images via the LCD, 470 via the EVF, or a massive 1500 via the Power Save Eco mode. When I first looked at the battery, I noticed a second set of electrical contacts located separately to the S5's. This actually allows the BLK22 to fit into both the S5 and GH5 series of cameras, making it ideal for anyone serious about video who may well have the GH5 already. This will allow you to switch the batteries between the two systems, but unfortunately the GH5 battery is not compatible with the S5. Just like on the S1H, we see dual card slots on the S5, but only one of these is UHS-2 compatible. You can record simultaneously on both cards for an instant backup, relay record to automatically switch when your first card is full, or allocation record, which allows you to save your videos and stills to separate SDs. Connectivity via Bluetooth and 5 GHz Wi-Fi allows you to take control of your S5 remotely or transfer your images to a smart device via the Lumix Sync app, ready to be uploaded and shared with your favourite social platforms. Panasonic have shared a roadmap for future firmware upgrades that we can expect to see by the end of the year. This will include 5.9K and 4K RAW added to the S5, along with the 3.5K anamorphic RAW too. For S1 and S1H users, you will gain the new S5 focusing system, along with the S1R getting 5K video recording. At an enthusiast level price point, the S5 body and kit provide features that we'd expect to see from a much higher price tag. For anyone already involved in video creation, this would be an ideal second camera or smaller, more portable handheld system, perfect for when weight and size has previously restricted the image quality's end result. With the internal 4K 60 or 30p with 10-bit 420 recording, along with many features videographers crave for, the S5 is definitely something worth considering. If you're starting out in videography or you prefer yourself as that hybrid shooter, bouncing between stills and video, you can still benefit from so much inside this lightweight system, using the S5 as your primary camera and still gaining all that full frame goodness. If you've liked what you've seen, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to hit subscribe. Ring that bell to get notifications of all our latest content, and if you'd like any more information, please check out the link below or head in to your local London Camera Exchange.